to this explainer. Today, we're cracking open a gripping criminal case file, tracing the unbelievable rise and capture of a suspected underworld mastermind. This story reads like a straight-up Hollywood thriller, but according to investigators, it's entirely real. We're going to break down the mechanics of this massive, alleged drug empire, how it was built, how it hid in plain sight, and how law enforcement finally started tearing it down.
Let's start with a staggering number, 12 plus. That's the number of active criminal cases currently facing our subject, a former model who operated under the alias Pinky. And we're not talking about minor infractions here. We're looking at a rap sheet that covers everything from narcotics possession and unlicensed weapons, literally all the way up to allegations of murder. The sheer volume and severity of these charges, it tells us right away we're dealing with a complex, high-stakes criminal web, not some low-level street operation.
In fact, investigators have officially branded Anmol with this exact title: Pakistan's alleged first female cocaine kingpin. Just let that sink in for a second. That is a massive title. It sets the stakes for an empire built on total secrecy, high-level connections, and deep systemic corruption. I mean, in a historically male-dominated underworld, how exactly does someone rise to the top and earn a title like that? Well, to figure that out, we've got to peel back the layers of her network.
Part 1. Profile of a Kingpin.
Now, to understand how she operated completely under the radar for so long, we need to look beyond where she is right now. Currently, Anmol is sitting in judicial remand in Karachi, with police actively finalizing their charge sheets. But, as investigators started digging into her background, they had this realization. They figured out that physically pulling her off the streets, that was just half the battle. The real nightmare was untangling the massive, highly sophisticated syndicate she left behind.
Part 2. The path to power. So, how does a teenager end up building an international cartel? Her life's timeline is basically a masterclass in strategic networking. According to the investigation, Anmol left home at just 14 years old to pursue modeling, and that early move was absolutely crucial. It was her foot in the door. It gave her direct access to these elite, affluent party circles, which, not coincidentally, would later become the primary market for her narcotics. But she didn't just stop at networking at parties. Sources show she leveraged strategic marriages to really consolidate her power. She married a lawyer who allegedly had direct links to an international cocaine gang. She was essentially building a bridge from high society straight into the criminal underworld.
And what's really chilling here is her total self-reliance. She wasn't just, moving someone else's product. She took ownership of the whole thing. Authorities allege she actually went online and taught herself how to prepare cocaine. By taking control of the manufacturing process, she managed to establish her very own illicit brand. That level of technical know-how, it shows a super calculated approach to building a criminal enterprise.
Part 3. The Phantom Courier Network.
But look, having a branded product is totally useless if you can't distribute it, right? So Anmol designed this incredibly secretive system built around the concept of compartmentalization. This is the kind of tactic you usually see used by top-tier intelligence agencies. In her network, every single member had one very specific task, and they strictly avoided meeting each other face-to-face. It was designed to completely minimize exposure. If the cops caught one courier, that person literally couldn't roll on the rest of the network because they just didn't know who else was involved. The house of cards stays standing even if you pull one out. Let's look at how this machine actually worked on the ground. Investigators say her network moved cocaine from Lahore down to Karachi using a super-specific, step-by-step method. Step 1, women couriers traveling on trains transported the product. They specifically used people who wouldn't draw the cops' attention. Step 2, the second those couriers hit the railway stations in Karachi, bike riders would swoop in and intercept the packets. And finally, the product was handed off to dealers, who funneled it straight into those elite Karachi party circles Anmol had infiltrated years before. It was a completely seamless, closed-loop supply chain.
Part 4. A family business.
Think about it. If you were running a highly secretive, compartmentalized system moving illegal drugs across the country, who do you actually trust at the very top? For Pinky, the answer was blood. She allegedly relied heavily on her own family to manage the operation. Investigators point right at her 3 brothers, who supposedly acted as both managers and on-the-ground mules. But it gets crazier. Her former husbands played huge operational roles too. Authorities identified one ex-husband as a primary drug supplier. Another ex-husband, and this detail just blows my mind, was a retired deputy superintendent of police who allegedly acted as a main facilitator for the cartel.
So investigators essentially had to map out 2 totally different sides of this empire. On one side, you've got this local elite network, a tight-knit group of family members and ex-husbands handling the day-to-day logistics inside Pakistan.
But on the flip side, you have the global cartel access. The investigation revealed that this so-called family business was backed by shadowy linchpins. These guys acted as high-level intermediaries, connecting Anmol directly to international drug cartels to keep the supply flowing uninterrupted.
Part 5. Laundering the profits.
Okay, with this cross-border network coming along, the syndicate was generating just staggering wealth. To put it in perspective, look at this massive bribe. 70 million rupees. According to investigators, Anmol dodged legal trouble 5 years before her current arrest by paying this enormous sum to the police. That number is absolutely crucial because it proves she wasn't just outsmarting the system with operational secrecy, she was literally buying her way out of trouble to keep the machine running. And she certainly wasn't just stuffing all this cash under her mattress. The network reportedly generated crores of rupees in illicit profits every single month. To handle that massive influx of dirty money, she washed it. How? By funneling it into legitimate businesses. The wildest example investigators uncovered is that she used drug profits to fund the construction of a luxury hotel up in Gilgit. I mean, just imagine that, transforming illegal drug money into high-end real estate, hiding her entire illicit empire right out in the open.
Part 6. The empire crumbles.
But every case filed, no matter how good the cover-up is, eventually hits a conclusion. And the final chapter of this one is actively being written. Now that Anmol is locked up in judicial remand, the dragnet is expanding fast. Law enforcement isn't just stopping at the alleged Kingpin. They're aggressively hunting down the facilitators, the brothers, the ex-husbands, those shadowy international linchpins. And maybe even more importantly, the police are now digging deep into the claims of past institutional corruption. They're investigating the very system that allegedly let her drop a 70 million rupee bribe and thrive for years.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to ponder this question. We've seen her unbelievable adaptability, right? Going from a 14-year-old model to an alleged cartel leader who learned chemistry online, compartmentalized her careers, weaponized her own family, and allegedly bought off the cops. Based on everything we just uncovered about her survival skills, her massive wealth, and her deep connections, is her current arrest truly the end of Pinky's empire, or are we just looking at a temporary pause in operations? Thanks for diving into this case file with us. Keep questioning the details, and as always, stay curious.